through this process, I've kind of learned there's a lot of opportunities and a lot of other deals that I can participate in.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of The Real Estate Path. I'm your host, Jim Lee, and I'm excited for you to be here with us. This podcast show is more than just about the investor's journey. It's not just the highlight reel, but the real, raw road an investor must take to achieve their vision. Whether you are a beginner investor or a seasoned pro, we're here to deep dive into the win-losses lesson and what it really takes to build a successful real estate business. Today, I have a special guest with me, Paul. Welcome to the show, Paul.
Thanks a lot, Jim.
So Paul and I, we met through a guy named Joshua Sun. I'm sure a lot of you guys may have heard of me talk about him. He's a capital raiser and he connected me with Paul. Now we're both in a mastermind group called Owners Club run by Pace Morby. Would like to just get to know more about Paul, and can you give us a little bit about your background and context into what you do and how you got started with real estate?
Yeah, absolutely. Glad to be here. Thanks again for the opportunity. This be my first podcast episode. I'm excited to share a little about my story. I immigrated here to the United States when I was 7 from Taiwan, which you're from as well.
Yeah, I came here 11 years old.
Yeah. So then when I came, it was from my dad's company. He had moved to Northern California. He was sent by his company to start a branch there in Northern California. And then it was really interesting because over the course of 15, 20 years, I saw me being one of the only Asians there in Fremont in the Silicon Valley when I first started in first grade. By the time I graduated high school, there was a bunch of Asians, Indians, and just a lot of immigrants that have come in to take advantage of the Silicon Valley boom. So it was just kind of interesting dynamic growing up. And then I went to UCLA, which is what brought me down to Southern California. I met my wife, started working in the insurance business right out of school. And I've been doing that for the past 20 or so years. And now I'm a partner at the Baldwin Group, which is a publicly traded insurance brokerage and consultancy focusing on risk management and in crafting insurance programs on behalf of our clients, which are typically middle market to large national companies.
Mm-hmm. Can you elaborate a little bit about what you do on the insurance side? How does that tie into real estate? I think a lot of people overlook insurance in general. I think they don't see that as something they need to be mindful and be wary of. Hey, this is one of the biggest expense out there. Can you just elaborate?
Yeah, I mean, insurance, the way I look at it, it's part of your overall risk management program. Mm-hmm. It is just a risk transfer piece, but then a lot of the overall risk management is preventative matters. If we have sufficient capital or sufficient resources, how do we take on more risk and become the bank? Or how do we become the risk retention party? So depending on everybody's scenario and their financial situation, there may be different strategies for different types of companies. With insurance, it's really about protecting legacy and protecting longevity. I mean, a lot of business owners and large enterprises, they are providing jobs to perhaps up to thousands of employees. And that's thousands of families that could potentially be impacted if the risk management program is not crafted in an appropriate manner. So that's where I feel there's a strong responsibility for myself and my team to be really mindful and thoughtful of how we design these programs, how to negotiate on our clients' behalf, and leverage the resources that we have at the Baldwin Group to accomplish that for our clients.
Yeah. Can you give us an example of what looks on paper, what seems to be like a really risky deal versus something that's not risky? Like, for example, the Tulsa multifamily apartment, deal that I'm checking into, 20% occupancy, lots of deferred maintenance, been neglected for years. Obviously, that's a very high risk profile. And so how do you determine that factor? What are the things that you guys look at on paper to determine, if this is a project that we are willing to provide insurance for?
Yeah. So as a broker, we work with a variety of carrier partners. So we engage with all the top national insurance companies. And every insurance company has different risk criteria. They have different underwriting guidelines. And sometimes there's even regional exclusions or exceptions that they can or can't engage in, right? So in terms of what's risky or what's not risky, it's all relative, right? In the eye of the beholder. But for that particular scenario, yes, it's more of a older construction, maybe deferred maintenance, perhaps, right? And vacancy is also an issue. So oftentimes within the insurance language, there's vacancy exclusions. There's limitations as to what the carrier can or can't do in terms of like what causes of losses are covered. So that's where it's super important to work with insurance consultant that is very, very familiar with the coverage forms and being able to negotiate on their behalf, because just having a policy doesn't really mean anything because it's just simply a promise of payment if there is a covered cause of loss. But if the covered cause of loss is not even included, having that paper means no good.
What's the bridge between insurance and real estate investing? How'd you get into it, and what inspired you to get into it?
Yeah, a variety of things, right? So I've been in the insurance consultancy space for over 2 decades. I've worked with business owners, I've worked with real estate investors, I've worked with private equity firms, I've worked with those that have massive real estate holdings as well. And I've always been intrigued by how different business owners and businesses generate wealth, and how do they build, and how do they just accomplish really massive goals, right? So I've always been intrigued by that aspect of it. And I've always also seen the potential and maybe some of the opportunities for improvements where maybe I can utilize some of my operational expertise that I've observed over time by working with, high performing companies and people in family offices to perhaps explore that for myself. So, working with business owners and real estate investors, it has encouraged me and also inspired me to want to have ownership myself. A lot of it is, taking on and evolving as a self-development type of exercise, but then also how do I partner with those that I have strategically have connections with at this point in my career. Over 20 years in the business, I've gained a lot of valuable connections. I enjoy a lot connecting people, even my clients to my other clients to resources, and just leveraging the network to better the overall community. When I got this opportunity to join Owners Club and meet, folks like yourself that are involved and passionate about real estate, it just invigorated me to explore this a little bit further. So this is actually a relatively newer journey for me in terms of real estate investing, but excited to find out more from folks like yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. So how's that been for you so far? I mean, you and I both joined Owners Club a couple months back.
Yeah.
How much momentum were you able to build since then?
It's building, right? So it's kind of a slow process, at least for myself, because I do have my full-time role as a partner at the Baldwin Group. So I love what I do. I love consulting for my clients. I love solving complex problems at national levels and building just really highly efficient programs. So I love doing all that. That being said, I realized I also had a pretty significant tax problem. So last year, I met Joshua Sun, our mutual friend. He shared some tax strategies with me, and that further encouraged me to explore maybe tax mitigation type of ideas a little bit further. And then I engaged and hired Amanda Han, who is a very highly successful real estate investor focused CPA. And she got me into short-term rental investing as well. So I'm exploring different things. I'm actually pretty new to just this real estate investing world as a whole. So short-term rentals, private money lending, and just getting connections with other Owners Club members to find opportunities where I can perhaps either invest myself or connect those around me to be able to participate in these deals, because this seems to be kind of an unfamiliar idea for a lot of folks in my world. And I'm trying to bring and bridge that gap for everybody.
Yeah, absolutely. So you brought up a really good point, especially for the audience, beginning investors. Is my question to you is, now that you're in this phase of discovery, right, where you're trying to figure out, okay, I'm going to try this, I'm going to try that. This seems interesting. I'm going to park my money there. How do you stay focused and not get distracted by the shiny object? Because it's a very common thing that as investors, we go out and we look at the type of people we want to work with, the type of deal we want to get involved, the asset class, the markets, should we invest here, out of state, all that. There's so many factors. So how do we stay focused and disciplined on one thing and get good at one thing instead of being distracted all over the place? Like, how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I mean, I'll be the first to admit that I suffer from that. I get very distracted, especially when it's something that's unfamiliar. When it's in insurance, I know like my role, I know my place, I know what I'm good at. So I'm like hyper focused as far as what I need to do to solve problems. With real estate investing, being only in this world for less than a year, I am like very distracted because I'm learning new terminology, I'm learning new opportunities, and it is definitely a struggle for me. But that being said, through my experience with the Owners Club, meeting folks like yourself and a lot of really, really high caliber individuals within Southern California as well, I've learned that it's not so much how do I do it? I don't need to learn everything. I just need to know who can do that and how do I get connected to those people? How do I access those resources and to leverage my time time. So I can still continue to do what I do from an insurance consulting standpoint, at the same time partake in real estate investor opportunities.
Brilliant. I mean, that's what everybody should do, right? Find a mastermind group, find a community, and just be part of it. And you're able to compress time frame, learn so much more from each other.
Absolutely.
And also, you're able to do diligence amongst each other, right? Because now you're part of a community, people talk amongst each other. Real estate is such a small world. So, I mean, it's very important to be part of that. Going back to what you said earlier, you do insurance, you do real estate investing. What is the purpose behind all this? What's your vision?
To be candid, it started off a little bit of a selfish endeavor. I knew I was paying way too much in taxes. I was trying to figure out, how do I pay less in taxes? How do I keep more for my family? And, frankly, that was my initial entry point into this world. It's how do I keep more of what I make?
Yeah.
But then through this process, I've kind of learned there's a lot of opportunities and a lot of other deals that I can participate in. And especially within Owners Club and talking to other high caliber individuals in this mastermind, this group, it's kind of broadened my thinking. Like, there's so much more I could do. Yes, it's super important to build wealth and to accomplish what I need to do for my family, my group, and those around me. But at the same time, within this group of individuals and high performers, we can partner and do deals to make an impact on social good, right? How do we solve things that people aren't necessarily paying attention to, or like really complex problems that people don't know how to solve for? So I'm trying to understand, especially within Southern California, how do we solve for affordable housing? How do we provide resources for those that are in need? And through this community, I believe that's totally possible. We just got to figure out the path to get there.
Yeah, absolutely. So have you connected with any Owners Club people from Los Angeles that share the same mission and value as you do?
So not necessarily in Los Angeles. I'm still trying to meet everybody, but I've definitely been connected by those within Owners Club to other Owners Club members that are not within Los Angeles that have a similar passion and a vision. So there definitely may be some synergies there. So for sure, it's something we're exploring.
So you touched a lot about leveraging each other's partnerships, each other's expertise, network, and just be able to do more deals, go so much faster and farther together than you ever could alone, right? So talk a little bit about that. How did you come up with this concept? Because I think this is one of those things that a lot of people can use, but people don't usually leverage. They don't really use the power of leverage, whether it's OPM, using other people's money, using other people's relationship connections to get to where you want to be. Yeah, so speak a little bit about that.
Talking to folks like yourself and also Pace Morby, he has said time and time again, it's really not the how, it's the who, right?
Yeah.
Because there's resources all around us. It's just how do we access those or know who can help us access those. That's why it's super valuable to be within a group where folks are like-minded. People genuinely want to help you achieve your dreams and to achieve something together. That team effort, definitely, it's always way more fun to do things as a team than to go solo. But it's a mindset shift for sure, because I will admit, I'm a stubborn guy. There's certain things I like to do in my way, but I've realized my way isn't always the best. And I need to open up my mind and be open to ideas and be receptive to other concepts and other experiences that people can share with, and to leverage that. And hopefully I can reciprocate and give back to them as well.
Yeah, that's so good. I remember Robert Kiyosaki way back in the day, like 10 years ago, he said that there's actually three sides of the coin. There's the heads, tails, and you want to be staying on the edge, because oftentimes we're so stuck in our own beliefs. You're either on the head or the tail side. You're so against listening to the other side's opinion that you completely just reject it because you're so tied into your own beliefs. What you just said is brilliant, because you want to stay open-minded enough to accept other people's feedback, opinions, even if it comes from a completely different world.
Oh, no, absolutely.
Yeah, that's so good. So is there anything else that you like to share that we haven't touched upon?
For those maybe even speaking to somebody like myself a year ago, it's scary when doing something new, but it's also very exciting, and it's also very fulfilling to be able to do it with those that will support you. So I appreciate you, Jim. Like, I appreciate what you're doing within this real estate investing community in Southern California, being one of the leaders that is able to share these ideas and share these opportunities with others. Because if it wasn't for folks like yourself, I definitely would not be in a position to even know what Owners Club is, to even know what private money lending is, to even know what like tax strategy is. So like, I'm like super grateful for what you're doing within this community, and just excited to journey together.
Yeah, thanks. And get this, can you believe this? Like, it all started with just one problem. You just had one tax problem. And that's how it all started. I got you to talk to Josh, and it referred for Josh to refer to me, and now you're part of Owners Club with all of us.
Oh yeah, it's crazy.
Imagine the momentum you build just with one problem.
Yeah, and in just less than a year.
Yeah.
So, pretty nuts, for sure.
And last thing, you said there's something scary. Can you elaborate on that? Like, what was the scary thing that you had to do
Yeah.
and you were able to overcome it? And what's the lesson behind that?
This past year, like my investing journey, I acquired a short-term rental in Sedona, Arizona.
Okay.
One of my favorite places and one of my family's favorite places to go to. So short-term rental, utilizing the short-term rental loophole tax strategy, buying something out of state that is 8 hours, 9 hours away driving, not being able to see it or feel it or like be present consistently. That was a scary thing for me, but it was something that we took a shot at and it's working out well. We're getting tax benefits from it, somewhere that my family and I can go and enjoy. And we're actually in the process of getting another one potentially in the next month or two. It's less scary now that I know the framework. That's one thing that was scary. Another thing that was scary was doing some private money lending deals. We're basically wiring and writing checks out to investors doing different types of projects. These are not, FDIC insured investments. These are not sure bets, right? So again, it's going back to the who, right?
Yeah.
Is this a team that we trust? Is this a concept and a project that we believe in? And am I able to do that without sufficient knowledge with some of these real estate investing ideas, right? So that was super scary, like investing money away, hoping that it'll come back. And so far it's trending well. I know at some point things are going to blow up and I'll probably lose money on certain deals, but that's something I'm prepared for. Now that I've kind of built the experience and being engaged with this group of folks, it's less scary. Doing it with a team is for sure less scary.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree with you on that. So yeah, the theme of today's topic, if you haven't catched, is who, not how, right? Be sure to go check out that book. Anything that you want to accomplish, it's not really how do I do it, it's who can help me do what I'm looking to accomplish. How can our audience find more about you, Paul?
Yeah, so definitely from an insurance consultancy standpoint, you can feel free to give me a call, 310-625-3661. That's my cell phone number. And I'm trying to build up my social media brand as well, thanks to you and the team.
Sounds good. All right, that concludes another episode of The Real Estate Path. Thanks for tuning in. We'll see you next time.